The morning sun cast long shadows across Trevor Roth's mahogany desk as he reviewed the quarterly projections for Aegis Defense Technologies. At 47, he carried himself with the calculated precision that had transformed a struggling military contractor into a $3 billion industry leader. His fingers drummed against the sleek surface of his desk, a habit he had developed during high-stakes negotiations. The phone's sharp ring cut through his concentration. The caller ID displayed Martinez Auto Services, causing Trevor to pause. Billy Martinez never called directly unless something required immediate attention. Trevor Roth speaking. He answered, leaning back in his chair. Mr. Roth. Billy's voice carried an edge of concern that 20 years of professional relationship had taught Trevor to recognize. Sorry to bother you directly, but something is not adding up with your vehicle maintenance records. Trevor's attention sharpened. What kind of discrepancy are we talking about, Billy? The digital signatures on your recent maintenance logs. They do not match our system's records. Someone has been tampering with them. Billy's voice lowered. The thing is, the timestamps show authorized access from Aegis security protocols. A memory surfaced. Sophia, his wife of 8 years, insisting that all vehicle maintenance go through the company's security department. At the time, he had attributed it to her usual obsession with their social image. When did this start? Trevor kept his voice neutral. Years of boardroom battles had taught him the value of controlled reactions. 3 months ago, I would not have caught it, but our new system flags signature mismatches automatically. Billy paused. Mr. Roth, I know Mrs. Roth wanted to centralize all the maintenance through your company's security protocols, but these modifications, they're not standard. Trevor's mind raced through recent events. Sophia's increased interest in his schedule, Cesar Rodriguez, his head of security, requesting additional access to personal vehicle records for streamlined protocols. Send me everything you have, Billy. Encrypted channel only. Trevor's tone left no room for discussion. And Billy, keep this between us. Already encrypted and sent to your private server. And sir, Billy's voice carried years of loyalty. Watch your back. The call ended, leaving Trevor staring at the Houston skyline through his office windows. At 38, Sophia played her role as corporate wife perfectly, perhaps too perfectly. And Cesar, at 45, had proven himself invaluable in building Aegis security infrastructure. The thought of either betraying him seemed absurd, yet the evidence demanded investigation. Trevor pulled up Billy's files, his cybersecurity background allowing him to spot the sophisticated tampering immediately. Someone had altered the maintenance logs with professional precision, but they'd missed the underlying verification hashes. An amateur mistake for someone of Cesar's caliber, unless they'd wanted him to find it. A knock at his office door interrupted his analysis. Sophia entered, her designer dress and perfectly styled hair projecting the image of corporate royalty she'd cultivated. Trevor, darling, she smiled, the expression not quite reaching her eyes. Don't forget the board meeting next week. Cesar's team has the route secured already. Trevor maintained his usual composed demeanor. Mountain Pass Road again? A bit roundabout, isn't it? You know how Cesar is about security. Sophia laughed lightly. He insists it's the safest route, despite the sharp turns. I had him check the car personally. Everything's perfect. I bet it is, Trevor thought, noting how she emphasized perfect. Speaking of Cesar, Trevor kept his tone casual. How's the new security? The implementation of the protocol was proceeding smoothly. He was so thorough. Sophia's phone buzzed. That's my charity committee dinner at 8, she said. Trevor nodded, watching her leave. The subtle shift in her perfume lingered in the air. New, more expensive than her usual choice. A gift, perhaps. The rest of the day passed in a blur of meetings and calls, but Trevor's mind kept returning to Billy's warning. At 7, he begged off dinner with a fabricated crisis, knowing Sophia would be too invested in maintaining appearances to object. Nights settled over their estate as Trevor worked in his home office, the security camera feeds displayed on a secondary monitor. He noticed Sophia's car still in the garage, despite her charity meeting. At 11, movement on the pool house camera caught his attention. Trevor silenced his phone and moved through the darkened house with practiced stealth. Voices drifted from the pool house, growing clearer as he approached. The door stood slightly ajar, warm light spilling onto the garden path. The brake lines are rigged perfectly. Cesar's voice carried clearly through the gap. When he takes that sharp turn on Mountain Pass Road to the board meeting, it'll look like a tragic accident. The investigation will show brake failure, common enough in these luxury cars. Trevor's jaw clenched as he heard Sophia's laugh, cold and unfamiliar. And with his $50 million company life insurance policy, plus my inheritance, we'll be set for life. The board has already agreed to appoint you interim CEO during the transition period. They're so eager to prove their progressive values. Caesar's voice dripped with contempt. A Hispanic CEO, handpicked by the grieving widow. A perfect PR story. Trevor never saw it coming, Sophia purred. So focused on his precious company, he never noticed us right under his nose. How long has it been now? 2 years of planning, 6 months of us. Caesar's voice carried a smugness that made Trevor's blood boil. Though watching you play the devoted wife has been quite the performance. Has it been entertaining? Please, he made it so easy, so caught up in his work, so trusting. Did you know he still believes I actually care about all those charity events? The sound of kissing made Trevor's stomach turn, but he forced himself to remain still, recording everything on his phone. 1 more week, Caesar murmured. Then, no more hiding, no more pretending. And EEG's classified contracts. Our buyers are getting impatient. They'll get everything once Trevor's out of the way. The board won't look too closely at digital transfers during the tragedy. Sophia's voice hardened. Just make sure it's clean this time. Not like your last attempt at your previous company. That was different. I was rushed. This time, everything's perfect. The brake lines will fail exactly where we need them to. By the time they pull his body from the wreck, Trevor had heard enough. He moved silently back to his office, his mind already formulating a plan. The years of building Aegis had taught him patience, strategy, and most importantly, the value of appearing vulnerable while holding all the cards. His first call was to FBI Special Agent Rachel Coleman. Their friendship dated back to college, before her FBI career and his corporate rise. The phone rang twice before she answered. Trevor? It's almost midnight. Rachel's voice carried both concern and alertness. Rachel, I need your help. No official channels yet. Trevor's voice remained steady as he outlined what he had discovered. Jesus, Trevor. Rachel's tone shifted to full professional mode. Stay put. I'm calling in my team. We'll need to document everything without tipping them off. They're planning it for next week's board meeting, Mountain Pass Road. Give me 2 hours. I'll have surveillance in place. Rachel paused. Trevor, be careful. These situations often escalate once the perpetrators realize their target is on to them. Trust me. Trevor's voice carried steel. They have no idea who they're dealing with. The next 24 hours became in a carefully orchestrated dance. Trevor maintained his normal routine, while Rachel's team gathered evidence. Billy Martinez provided detailed security footage from his shop, showing Caesar directing the brake line modifications while using EIS security credentials. Trevor's private investigation revealed more shell companies linked to Caesar. He had been siphoning money from defense contracts for months. Sophia's private server, easily accessed with passwords she had never bothered to change, contained encrypted communications with EEG's competitors. Years of classified information sold to the highest bidders. Your wife has been busy, Rachel commented, reviewing the evidence in a secure FBI location. These transfers, she has been selling military secrets for at least a year. And Rodriguez's embezzlement scheme, it is not his first. We found links to 3 other defense contractors where he worked security. Each had suspicious deaths in upper management. They needed my death to cover their tracks. Trevor's voice remained clinical. The grieving widow and loyal security chief, too distraught to notice suspicious transfers during the chaos. Almost elegant, if it were not so predictable. Rachel studied her old friend. Most men would be emotional about this level of betrayal. Emotion is a luxury I cannot afford right now. Trevor reviewed the surveillance footage. Besides, they made a fundamental mistake. Oh, they assumed I was the man Sophia married. Ambitious but naive, too focused on business to notice personal betrayal. Trevor's smile carried no warmth. They forgot who built EIS from nothing, who navigated defense contracts and corporate takeovers. They thought they were playing a businessman. And what were they actually playing? Someone who succeeded in defense contracting by always being 3 steps ahead. Trevor turned to Rachel. How quickly can your team set up the accident scene? You want to play along? Risky. Rachel's expression turned thoughtful, though catching them in the act. The act would render the case airtight, not merely to apprehend them, but to ensure they experience the full satisfaction of success before everything collapses around them. Trevor's eyes hardened with resolve. They had plotted his demise while sleeping beneath his roof, spending his wealth, and pilfering his company's secrets. The very least he could do was guarantee their downfall would be unforgettable. Rachel recognized the glint in Trevor's gaze, the same determined look he had worn before triumphing in case competitions during their college years. "I will assign my finest team to this," she affirmed. "But Trevor, remember, revenge is most effective when confined within legal boundaries." "Oh, it will be entirely lawful," Trevor replied, a faint smile gracing his lips. "That is precisely what will make it so deeply satisfying." The following days unfolded exactly as planned. Trevor mentioned that the car seemed to pull slightly to one side, and Sophia immediately insisted that Caesar's team inspect it. "Better safe than sorry, darling," she said, her hand resting on his arm with rehearsed concern. "Caesar will ensure everything is flawless for the board meeting." Trevor fought the impulse to break her fingers. "You are always looking out for me, aren't you?" "Always," she replied, her smile so convincing it would have fooled anyone who had not overheard her scheming to end his life. The FBI surveillance team captured Caesar, making his final adjustments the night before the board meeting. From Rachel's office, Trevor watched the footage, noting the meticulous precision with which his head of security tampered with the brake lines. "He has done this before," Rachel observed. "Those modifications are executed with professional expertise." "Of course they are," Trevor responded, his tone tinged with dark amusement. "Cesar Rodriguez does not fail twice. It is a pity he never investigated who supplied the security cameras to his former company." Rachel's eyebrows lifted in surprise. "Aegis equipment, prototype systems installed during his tenure there. It is remarkable what one can uncover in old footage when they know where to look," Trevor remarked, handing her a drive. "Consider it a gift from Aegis to the FBI. I am certain the families of his previous victims will find some measure of closure in this." "You have been diligent," Rachel acknowledged. "They are not the only ones who deserve justice." He could plan ahead. Trevor checked his watch. "Now, shall we give them the tragic accident they've been dreaming of?" The pieces were set. The players were in position. As Trevor left the FBI office, he allowed himself a small smile. Sophia and Caesar wanted a spectacular crash on Mountain Pass Road. He would make sure they got exactly what they wished for, along with consequences they never saw coming. "Sir," Rachel's voice stopped him at the door. "What made you suspicious in the first place, before Billy's call?" Trevor paused. 3 months ago, Sophia stopped asking about my insurance policy updates. After 8 years of demanding to review every detail, she suddenly lost interest. That's when I knew she'd found what she was looking for. His expression hardened. "In business, Rachel, the most dangerous moment isn't when someone's attacking you. It's when they stop showing interest in your defenses." As Trevor drove home for what Sophia and Caesar believed would be the last time, he felt no regret, no emotional turmoil over their betrayal. They had mistaken his focus for blindness, his trust for weakness. Tomorrow, they would learn the cost of that mistake. "One more night," he murmured, watching Sophia pretend concern over his late return. "Enjoy your plotting while you can, dear wife. Tomorrow's performance will be one you'll never forget." The morning of the board meeting dawned clear and crisp. Trevor adjusted his tie in the master bedroom mirror, watching Sophia's reflection as she pretended to review charity documents on her tablet. Her practiced concern whenever she glanced his way would have fooled anyone who hadn't heard her plotting his murder. "The car's still pulling slightly," Trevor mentioned casually, testing the bait. Sophia's head snapped up with perfectly orchestrated worry. "Darling, let Caesar's team check it one more time. We can't have anything happening on Mountain Pass Road." "That won't be necessary," Trevor replied, noting how her fingers tightened on the tablet. "I'm sure." Caesar's team had executed a thorough inspection the previous day, yet Sophia caught herself reflexively smoothing her features. "Of course, Caesar is exceptionally meticulous about your safety," she remarked. "I'm sure he is," Trevor thought, recalling the FBI surveillance footage that had captured Caesar conducting late-night maintenance in the garage. Trevor made a deliberate show of inspecting the vehicle while hidden cameras documented every angle. Rachel's team had labored through the night to prepare the intricate deception that would follow. Everything is set. Rachel's voice transmitted clearly through his encrypted earpiece. Cameras along the mountain pass road are in position, and fire teams are standing by. The moment you switch cars at the blind spot, we will handle the rest. Trevor smiled, remembering Sophia's smug expression in the pool house. She and Caesar had planned every detail with such care, never suspecting they were performing for an unseen audience. The drive to the switch point proceeded exactly as planned. Trevor's security detail, comprised of hand-picked FBI agents posing as heiress personnel, maintained a discreet distance. At precisely 9:47 a.m., his car vanished around the notorious hairpin turn on Mountain Pass Road. From his vantage point in an unmarked FBI vehicle, Trevor observed the carefully orchestrated chaos unfold. A remote-controlled duplicate of his car, matching every detail down to the license plate, careened through the guardrail. The explosion that followed illuminated the morning sky. News helicopters are incoming, Rachel reported from the command center. Social media is already picking up civilian footage. Your death is about to go viral. Trevor's phone buzzed with a message from Sophia. In a meeting. Hope the drive was smooth. Love you. Such concern from the grieving widow. Trevor remarked dryly. How long until she's notified? Official notification in 30 minutes, Rachel replied. We're recording her reaction at the charity event. Caesar is under surveillance at heiress headquarters. The next few hours unfolded like a perfectly choreographed dance. News channels interrupted regular programming with breaking reports of the tragic incident, each broadcast amplifying the narrative of Trevor's demise. Programming with breaking coverage amateur videos of the explosion flooded social media. #EIS strategy began trending nationwide. From the secure FBI command center, Trevor watched Sophia receive the news. Her performance was flawless, the slight tremor in her hands, the way her voice caught as she asked for details, the single tear she allowed to fall before excusing herself to process the shock. She's good, Rachel observed, reviewing the footage. If we didn't have evidence of her plotting your murder, I'd believe that grief. 8 years of marriage taught her how to play her role. Trevor's voice carried no emotion. Watch Caesar's reaction. That's where we'll find the cracks. The security feed from EIS headquarters showed Caesar maintaining rigid professionalism as he coordinated the initial response. Only someone who knew what to look for would notice his subtle tells, the slight upturn of his lips when confirming the crash location, the way his hand brushed Sophia's arm consolingly during their first private moment. The board's calling an emergency session, Rachel reported. Want to watch them appoint your murderer as interim CEO? Wouldn't miss it. Trevor's smile held no warmth. How's the evidence collection going? Teams are documenting everything. The brake line tampering is obvious once you know where to look. Billy's records provide the timeline perfectly. Rachel paused. The financial team just found something interesting in Caesar's communications. Looks like he's already messaging potential buyers for classified contracts. Moving fast, Trevor noted. Almost like he planned this transition down to the hour. The next 3 days became a media circus. Sophia appeared on national news, her grief seemingly profound as she clutched their prenuptial agreement and life insurance papers. Caesar stood beside her, the picture of devoted protection. Your wife's quite the actress, Rachel commented, watching Sophia's third, tearful interview as the grieving widow. Angel was performing admirably across social media platforms. She had always adored having an audience, Trevor mused, as he reviewed the most recent surveillance data. Any movement on those offshore accounts? 3 transfer attempts in the last hour, came the reply. They're growing impatient. Rachel offered a grim smile. The trap is set for tomorrow's final viewing. Are you certain you want to wait that long? The funeral is drawing every major player in the defense industry, Trevor explained. Board members, competitors, government officials, everyone who has played a role in their little conspiracy. Why arrest 2 conspirators when we can capture the entire network? The funeral service surpassed even Trevor's expectations. Sophia's tearful eulogy, praising his dedication to excellence, had reporters dabbing their eyes. Caesar's stoic presence, paired with an appropriately somber expression, appeared to persuade even the skeptics. She's really selling it, Rachel muttered through Trevor's earpiece as he waited inside the coffin. She just referenced your beautiful soul for the third time. Patience, Trevor, he whispered in response. Let her complete the performance. The final viewing line progressed slowly, each mourner paying respects to the deceased while concealed cameras documented their reactions. Trevor remained perfectly still, counting the footsteps, anticipating his moment. Sophia and Caesar are approaching. Rachel's voice came through clearly. All teams are in position. Exits are secured. Trevor could hear Sophia's voice, thick with manufactured tears. He looked so peaceful, at least it was quick. Everything is proceeding as planned, Caesar murmured, his tone carrying the same smugness he displayed at the pool house. Trevor opened his eyes. The chaos that erupted was beautiful in its intensity. Sophia's scream fractured the somber atmosphere. Caesar's attempt to flee lasted precisely 3 steps before FBI agents brought him down. Live news cameras, originally admitted to cover the touching funeral service, captured every moment. Federal agents. Rachel's voice sliced through the pandemonium. Everyone, stay where you are. Trevor rose smoothly, adjusting his tie as he faced his would-be murderers. Sophia, darling, you seem surprised. Did you not expect me to attend my own funeral? Sophia's face contorted with rage and disbelief. This is impossible. Impossible. Trevor stepped from the coffin, his voice carrying to every corner of the church. Like your offshore accounts? Or perhaps like Caesar's shell companies? Or maybe you meant the classified information you've been selling to our competitors? You have no proof. Caesar snarled, struggling against the agents restraining him. Trevor smiled coldly. That's where you're wrong. You see, while you were planning my tragic accident, I was documenting every step of your conspiracy. The brake line tampering, recorded. Your pool house planning sessions, captured in high definition. Those classified documents you've been transferring, tracked, and traced. An agent burst through the church doors. Sir, we've got them. Caesar's co-conspirators were caught mid-transfer of classified data. The servers are locked down. Sophia's designer makeup could not hide her growing pallor. Trevor, please. I can explain. Save it for your lawyers. Trevor cut her off, his voice hard. Though I doubt they'll be interested in your performance. The evidence speaks for itself. As FBI agents led them away in handcuffs, Trevor addressed the stunned audience. Ladies and gentlemen, my apologies for the theatrical revelation. But sometimes, the only way to catch a conspiracy is to let the conspirators think they've won. The media explosion that followed was unprecedented. Hashtag SEZombie and hashtag #AegisRevenge dominated social media. News channels ran the footage of Trevor's rise from the coffin on loop, while financial analysts debated the impact on EG's stock price. Later that evening, Trevor stood in Rachel's office, watching the arrest footage replay on multiple screens. The raid on their offshore accounts recovered most of the stolen funds, Rachel reported. The evidence we have gathered is beyond airtight. Their lawyers will not have much to work with. Trevor's voice held no satisfaction, only finality. Send copies of everything to the district attorney's office. I want them to understand exactly what they are dealing with. It is going to be quite a story when it all comes out, Rachel observed. The grieving widow and the loyal security chief plotting murder while selling state secrets. They thought I was too focused on business to notice personal betrayal. Trevor replied, watching Sophia's booking photo appear on the news. They never understood that in defense contracting, paranoia is not a weakness, it is a survival skill. What happens to Aegis now? Now, Trevor smiled for the first time that day. We clean house. But that is tomorrow's battle. Tonight, I believe I have a death certificate to cancel. The media dubbed it the resurrection sting, but for Trevor, it was simply business. His would-be murderers had tried to use his company's resources against him. Instead, they learned the hard way that underestimating Trevor Roth was always a fatal mistake, one way or another. The federal investigation moved with unprecedented speed. 3 weeks after Trevor's theatrical resurrection, the full scope of Sophia and Caesar's conspiracy began to emerge. FBI agents, working round the clock, uncovered a web of corruption that stretched far beyond a simple murder plot. You will want to see this, Rachel said, dropping a thick file on Trevor's desk at FBI headquarters. We found Caesar's old records, those accidents at his previous companies. He kept detailed notes. Arrogant bastard actually documented everything. Trevor reviewed the files, his expression hardening. 3 CEOs, all suspicious deaths ruled as accidents. He was building his resume. Rachel explained, each company, same pattern. Get hired as security chief, identify vulnerabilities, orchestrate accidents. He just never succeeded until he met your wife. Speaking of my dear, in a tone laced with icy amusement, Trevor inquired, how is she enjoying federal custody? Rachel pulled up the surveillance footage. Sophia sat in her cell, her designer clothes replaced by prison orange. Her meticulously maintained composure was fracturing under the strain. Her phone was a gold mine, Rachel continued. She recorded every planning session with Caesar. Apparently, they didn't trust each other enough to forego keeping insurance. Smart of them, Trevor remarked, though not smart enough. The interrogation videos played across multiple screens. Separated and confronted with overwhelming evidence, Sophia and Caesar began their mutual destruction. It was all her idea. Caesar shouted during his third interview. She approached me 6 months after I started at Aegis. She said Trevor was worth more dead than alive. Meanwhile, Sophia was weaving her own narrative. Caesar manipulated me, she sobbed to the investigators. He claimed Trevor was selling secrets to foreign governments, that eliminating him was a matter of national security. I was only trying to protect the company. They are quite the pair, Rachel observed. The cable networks are fighting over exclusive coverage rights. Let them fight, Trevor replied. The more public this becomes, the better for what comes next. The next phase of Trevor's plan unfolded at Aegis headquarters. The board of directors, summoned for an emergency session, found themselves confronting their worst nightmare. Ladies and gentlemen, Trevor addressed them, standing authoritatively at the head of the conference table. Let's discuss your decision to appoint my would-be murderer as interim CEO. Mr. Roth, stuttered Douglas Webb, the board chairman, we had no idea. No idea? Trevor's voice cut through the room like steel. No idea that my head of security had a history of suspicious deaths at his previous companies? No idea that he was embezzling millions through shell corporations? Or perhaps, no idea that my wife was selling our classified contracts to competitors? He placed thick folders in front of each board member. Your resignations are expected. The document is expected on my desk by morning. Those who cooperate will be noted as having resigned before the scandal broke. Those who do not, he smiled coldly. Well, the FBI is very interested in how deeply this conspiracy penetrated EG's leadership. The boardroom cleared within minutes. Trevor turned to Billy Martinez, who stood quietly by the door, ready for a promotion. Billy blinked. Sir, EEG just needs a new head of corporate security, someone with proven integrity and loyalty, someone who spots tampering in main logs and makes the right call. Mr. Roth, I'm just a mechanic. You're the man who saved my life by paying attention to digital signatures, Trevor corrected. In my experience, integrity matters more than titles. The corporate restructuring sent shock waves through the defense industry. Trevor's new transparency policies, built around lessons from his own near-death experience, became the gold standard for corporate security. They're calling it the Roth Protocol in industry circles, Rachel mentioned, watching Trevor outline his security framework at a global conference. Every major contractor is scrambling to implement similar systems. Meanwhile, the federal trial became a media sensation. Prosecutors laid out a methodical case, building on months of surveillance and years of documented conspiracy. The defense would like to call Sophia Roth to the stand, her attorney announced on day 3. Sophia took the stand wearing carefully selected conservative attire, her previous glamour replaced by calculated humility. Mrs. Roth, her attorney began, please tell the court about your relationship with Mr. Rodriguez. He was, Sophia paused for dramatic effect, manipulative, controlling. He convinced me Trevor was involved in illegal arms deals. Said we had to stop him for the good of the country. Caesar's outburst from the defense table shattered her performance. You lying? Show them the videos. Show them you planned everything. The prosecution presented high-definition footage from the pool house, which played on the courtroom screens, revealing Sophia and Caesar's intimate plotting sessions. The break lines are perfect, Caesar's recorded voice echoed, clearer and more distinct than previous recordings. Tell me again how you'll look running the company, Sophia purred in the video. I love hearing about our future. Their mutual betrayal continued throughout the trial, with each new revelation driving them further apart. Their stories contradicted one another until both lost all credibility. The final blow came from Billy Martinez's testimony. His meticulous maintenance records, combined with security footage from his shop, provided irrefutable evidence of systematic sabotage. These modifications, Billy explained to the jury, pointing at detailed diagrams, were designed to fail at exactly the right moment. Professional work, deliberate, the kind that only someone with Mr. Rodriguez's experience could plan. Faced with overwhelming evidence and hostile co-conspirators, Sophia made one last attempt to save herself. She offered to testify against Caesar's international network. Mr. Roth, her attorney, approached Trevor during a recess. "My client wishes to cooperate fully. She has names, dates, account numbers." "I'm sure she does," Trevor replied without emotion. "The FBI will be interested." "I'm not." The final letter arrived after her guilty plea. Trevor read it in Rachel's office, his expression unchanging. "My dearest Trevor," Sophia wrote, "I lost myself in Caesar's web of lies. The woman who planned your death wasn't the real me. Please find it in your heart." Trevor didn't finish reading. Instead, he signed the papers authorizing all settlement funds from Sophia's plea deal to be donated to a newly established foundation for victims of domestic conspiracy. "Poetic," Rachel commented, using her blood money to help other victims. The sentencing provided final justice. Caesar, defiant to the end, received multiple life sentences for his crimes. Attempted murder, espionage, and fraud. His international assets seized by federal authorities revealed connections to 3 other CEO deaths that were suddenly under new investigation. Sophia's testimony led to a cascade of arrests throughout the defense contracting world. Her detailed records of classified information sales helped the FBI unravel decades of corporate espionage. 5 years passed. Trevor stood at a podium in the White House, accepting the Presidential Medal of Freedom for his work in transforming defense contractor accountability. "Mr. Roth," the president addressed him, "your experience has made our nation's defense industry more secure. Your WTH protocol has become the global standard for corporate security." Trevor's acceptance speech was brief, focused on looking forward rather than back. But the announcement that followed captured every headline. "And now I'd like to share some personal news," he concluded. "Agent Rachel Coleman, whose brilliant work helped expose this conspiracy, has agreed to become my wife. We'll be honeymooning at Mountain Pass Road, though I believe locals now call it Truth's Turn." The laughter that filled the room held genuine warmth, so different from Sophia's cold calculations in the pool house years ago. Months later, Trevor stood before a class at the FBI Academy, sharing his story with a new generation of agents. "The perfect murder," he explained, pointing to case files displayed on the screen, "isn't about the killing. It's about knowing when you're the target." Caesar Rodriguez and Sophia Roth had everything planned perfectly. Their mistake? They thought their target was just another rich CEO, too busy counting money to count enemies. A student raised his hand. "Sir, weren't you afraid when you discovered their plot?" Trevor's smile held no remorse. "Fear is a reaction. Action is a choice. They chose to try to kill me. I chose to let them think they'd succeeded. And that choice made all the difference." He gestured to the screen. "The case files, study these records, learn from their mistakes and mine, because somewhere out there, another Caesar is planning another accident. Another Sophia is playing the devoted partner while plotting betrayal. Your job isn't to prevent every perfect murder. It's to recognize the target before they do." The next generation of FBI agents took detailed notes, learning from a man who turned his own attempted murder into a master class in conspiracy detection. They studied the evidence, analyzed the patterns, and absorbed the lessons of a case that transformed corporate security. But none of them fully grasped the steel behind Trevor's smile when he concluded each lecture with the same warning. "Remember, in the end, it's not about who plans the perfect murder. It's about who's smart enough to see it coming." The main story ends here. If you want to listen long-term, epilogue, then continue. Epilogue. 10 years later, the maximum security wing of the Federal Correctional Institution Hazleton remained as imposing as ever. In Cell Block D, Sophia Roth, now listed as inmate number 47291, stared at her reflection in the metallic mirror. At 48, her once perfect features showed the harsh reality of a decade in federal prison. The designer clothes and carefully maintained appearance had given way to prison-issued garments and premature aging brought on by stress and regret. 3 cells down, Cesar Rodriguez, inmate number 47293, spent his days in isolation, his third stint this year for starting fights with other inmates. His attempts to maintain his former authority had earned him enemies among both prisoners and guards. At 55, his arrogance had curdled into bitter rage. Mail call, the guard announced, sliding letters through the slots. Sophia reached for the newspaper clipping that fell onto her bed. Another article about Trevor Roth. The headline read, EIS CEO revolutionizes defense industry security. Roth Protocol, now global standard. A decade of incarceration had afforded her ample time to follow Trevor Rising's success through newspaper clippings and television news reports. Each new achievement felt like another nail being driven into the coffin of her former life. Having your daily dose of regret, Sophia? The guard, Officer Martinez, Billy Martinez's niece, didn't bother to conceal her contempt. Must be difficult watching your ex-husband become a legend while you rot in here. Sophia ignored the taunt, though her hands trembled as she read the article detailing how Trevor had just secured a $1 billion government contract for EEG's new security infrastructure system. The company she had attempted to steal through murder had grown tenfold under his continued leadership. Meanwhile, in the prison's administrative office, Warden Harris reviewed Caesar's latest disciplinary report with FBI agent Rachel Roth. 3 assaults this month, Harris reported. He still claims he's being targeted by international operatives. His paranoia is worsening. Rachel, now deputy director of the FBI's Corporate Crime Division, studied the report intently. Any contact with his former network? She inquired. Not since the last attempt 2 years ago, Harris replied. That accident in the prison workshop cost him his last chance at general population privileges. The warden shuffled through his papers, adding thoughtfully, though I must admit, rigging that industrial press demonstrated he hasn't lost his touch. He continued, and Sophia, model prisoner on paper, teaches business classes to other inmates. Harris's expression hardened as he concluded, but we monitor her correspondence closely. She still attempts to contact defense industry players through carefully coded messages. Old habits die hard. At EEG headquarters in Houston, the company had transformed beyond recognition. The remodeled executive floor featured a wall of achievements. Trevor's Presidential Medal of Freedom, industry awards for the Roth Protocol, and most prominently displayed, a framed maintenance log for Martinez Auto Services. Billy Martinez, now executive director of Global Security Operations, led a team of over 1,000 security professionals. His promotion had set a new standard for integrity in corporate culture, outranking mere credentials. Another attempted breach detected and contained, Billy reported during the morning briefing. Some of Caesar's old contacts tried accessing our servers through a backdoor he had apparently installed years ago. Trevor Silver, now touching his temples but his resolve unchanged, nodded. Send the details to Rachel's team. Let them add another conspiracy charge to his record. The Roth Protocol, born from Trevor's near-death experience, had evolved into the global standard for corporate security. Its core principle, trust through verification, had transformed how companies handled internal threats. Sir, Billy gestured to the screens. We've identified 3 more companies with suspicious executive accidents in their past. The pattern matches Caesar's old methodology. Forward everything to the cold case unit, Trevor replied. Rachel's team has reopened 20 similar cases from the past 2 decades. Turns out our would-be murderers had quite the industry going. The investigation into corporate accidents had snowballed. Each uncovered case revealed new connections, leading to dozens of arrests across the defense industry. Caesar's international network, mapped through Sophia's testimony, had tentacles reaching into every major contractor. At the FBI Academy in Quantico, Trevor's quarterly lectures had become legendary. The case study of his own attempted murder was required reading for new agents. Understanding betrayal isn't about emotion, he told the latest class. It's about pattern recognition. Caesar and Sophia failed because they followed a playbook, one they'd used before. Your job is to spot those patterns before they culminate in accidents. The students studied the evidence that had sealed the conspirators' fate: maintenance logs, security footage, recorded conversations, financial transfers. Each piece revealed how confidence had bred carelessness. They recorded their planning sessions as insurance against one another. Trevor explained that mutual distrust became their undoing, noting that conspirators who do not trust each other will always create their own evidence. After class, Trevor drove home along the renamed Truth's Turn, the very road where his accident had been planned. The sharp curve that was supposed to end his life now bore a plaque marking where justice took a turn. Rachel waited at home with their twin daughters, 9-year-old Faith and Hope, doing homework at the kitchen table. The girls knew a sanitized version of their parents' story, how Mommy, the FBI agent, had helped Daddy stop bad people from hurting others. Another letter from Sophia, Rachel mentioned after the girls went to bed. Same request for an appeal recommendation. Trevor took the unopened letter and added it to a file labeled Consequences. Every communication attempt from Sophia joined this collection, a reminder of the price of betrayal. The parole board meets next month, Rachel continued. She's eligible for consideration, and our recommendation stands. She's still trying to manipulate the system. Those business classes she teaches, we found coded messages in the materials. She's been grooming contacts for when she gets out. Trevor nodded, unsurprised. And Caesar? After that workshop incident, he'll die in prison. The attempted murder charge from that alone added 20 years. Their conversation was interrupted by a call from Billy. Sir, you need to see this. We just intercepted a message from Sophia to one of Caesar's old contacts. She's been planning something at the prison. An unscheduled cell search revealed the extent of Sophia's continued scheming. Hidden in her carefully annotated business textbooks, investigators found a new conspiracy taking shape. Contacts, account numbers, potential allies on the outside. Still playing the same games, Rachel observed, reviewing the evidence. 10 years, and she hasn't learned. The discovery led to another trial for Sophia. Her carefully crafted image of reformation shattered as she faced additional charges of conspiracy and attempted fraud. You never changed, Trevor, she told him during his testimony. You just found new ways to hide the same old schemes. The additional 20-year sentence ended any hope of parole. Sophia's mask finally cracked as they led her back to her cell. I built you, she screamed at Trevor. Everything you are came from our social connections. I made you. Trevor's response was simple. No, Sophia. You tried to kill me. I rebuilt myself. That's the difference between us. Caesar, watching the news coverage of Sophia's new sentence from solitary confinement, received his own revelation. His last remaining international contacts, seeing Sophia's failed schemes, finally abandoned their decades-long association. The empire they tried to build through murder and betrayal had crumbled completely. Their legacy became a cautionary tale taught in business schools and law enforcement academies worldwide. At EG's 20th anniversary celebration, Trevor addressed a global audience of corporate leaders and government officials. 20 years ago, 2 people close to me planned my death in a pool house. They thought wealth and power came from taking what others built. Today, their story serves as foundation for a new era of corporate security. The Roth Protocol had spawned an entire industry of ethical security practices. Companies worldwide now require dual verification systems, regular security audits, and transparent maintenance logs. Billy Martinez's promotion had inspired similar changes across the corporate world. Background credentials meant less than proven integrity. The mechanic who'd spotted tampered maintenance logs now consulted for Fortune 500 companies on security culture. Uncle Billy's doing it again, Officer Martinez told Sophia during a cell check. Another company adopted his integrity-first hiring policy. Must hurt watching the man you dismissed as just a mechanic transform. In the prison library, Sophia found herself confronted by the specter of corporate America. She gazed at news coverage detailing the continued success of her ex-husband, Trevor. Photographs from charity events featured Trevor and Rachel's daughters, the family she had never been part of. The life she had discarded through greed and betrayal thrived vibrantly in her absence. Meanwhile, Caesar, whose isolation was interrupted only by mandatory exercise periods, had withered into a mere shadow of the arrogant security chief who had once orchestrated executive murders. His efforts to maintain control through violence had cost him every ally, every contact, and any lingering hope of ever tasting freedom again. Their separate falls from grace became essential reading in psychology courses examining corporate sociopathy. Experts scrutinized their behavioral patterns, the meticulous plotting, the pervasive mutual distrust, the recorded conversations they had each preserved as insurance. Trevor's cautionary advice to FBI trainees evolved into a broader principle of corporate security. The perfect murder is not merely about recognizing when you are the target, but about designing systems in which betrayal inevitably leaves evidence. The transformed Mountain Pass Road, now known as Truth's Turn, grew into a popular destination for corporate retreats. Companies brought their executives there to absorb the lesson of Trevor Roth's near-death and resurrection. A small museum near the curve housed exhibits detailing the conspiracy, maintenance logs, recorded devices, offshore account records, each artifact demonstrating how betrayal generates its own trail of evidence. In their Houston home, Trevor and Rachel watched their daughters mature with a deep understanding of the value of integrity. Faith displayed Rachel's investigative instincts, while Hope inherited Trevor's business acumen. "They are the real legacy," Trevor told Rachel, as they observed the girls studying the Roth protocol for a school project. "Not the company, not the security standards, but a new generation that comprehends the steep price of betrayal." The final word on the conspiracy emerged from an unexpected source, a prison psychiatrist studying Sophia and Caesar for a book on corporate psychology. The criminals identified their crucial mistake. They assumed wealth and power were finite resources to be stolen. The psychiatrist wrote that they never understood true success comes from building, not destroying. Their betrayal did not just fail. It revealed the fundamental flaw in their worldview. 20 years after a late-night conversation in a pool house, the conspiracy that aimed to end Trevor Roth's life had instead spawned a revolution in corporate security. The would-be murderers, who thought themselves master manipulators, had become case studies in failure. In the end, Trevor concluded during his latest FBI Academy lecture, "The perfect murder isn't about the killing. It's about understanding that betrayal always leaves traces." Sophia and Caesar thought they were writing a story of perfect crime. Instead, they became a lesson in perfect justice. The lesson echoed through corporate boardrooms, law enforcement academies, and prison cells. Trust, once broken, creates its own evidence. And sometimes, the greatest victory isn't in surviving betrayal. It's in transforming it into a legacy of positive change. At the Truth's Turn, where Trevor's car was supposed to end his life, a simple plaque summed up 20 years of consequence. Here lies not a tragedy, but a transformation. Every betrayal carries the seeds of its own destruction. Sophia and Caesar, in their separate cells, lived that truth every day. Their betrayal had indeed destroyed something, not Trevor Roth's life, but their own carefully constructed illusions of power and control. And in Houston, the man they tried to murder continued building, teaching, and transforming, living proof that the perfect murder isn't about the killing. It's about knowing when you're the target and having the strength to turn betrayal into breakthrough. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comment section. Thanks for your time. If you enjoyed the story, please subscribe to this channel and click the notification bell on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.